Sports Today is another sports podcast. I'm here with Hutton.
Hello.
And Coach Brown.
What's up?
Coach Brown is our middle school coach at our school for 7th and 8th grade. So we'll go into your questions. So, what makes a good football team?
What makes a good football team? You may ask this question tomorrow. I may give you a different answer. But for me, I feel like what makes a good team is the bond. The bond of a team. You always can find a good player. You always can find a fast player. You can find an athletic player. But do you find some kids that like each other? The bond by liking each other is I won't let my teammate / brother down. Especially if we have this type of bond. So just getting a group of kids who really enjoy being around each other and who don't mind going through tough situations together.
Yeah. What are strategies that you think work best on the field for running and all the concepts of football?
I'd say probably tricking the guys into doing things that are beneficial for them that they normally wouldn't do if you force them to do, like running. I'm a big guy who feels like conditioning is a big part of any sport you play, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, swimming. You always got to be in condition. So I try to find ways to not make them think about that they're running, but still get the point across.
Yeah. What do you think? How do you think players develop in middle school? How do you think they most develop the best?
The biggest thing that you're learning in middle school is building your mental, because you're not at the peak of your athletic ability. Mm-hmm. You're not the biggest kid. You're not the fast. You're probably the fastest on the team, but that doesn't mean you're the fastest in the league, maybe. So the biggest thing is growing your mental. If you can grow your mental, then you'll be ready to progress as the years go on in high school, and then you'll be your finished product by senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So another question is, this last year was your first year coaching 7th grade football. Did you really understand the rule changes and how it was different from when you played, maybe back in high school?
I don't think a lot of things are different. I feel like they're the same. I grew up in Georgia, so we had the heat index rule then just like it is now. Football is kind of constant. It really doesn't change too much. You're not gonna get a new too much of anything. It's not gonna be a new offense. It's not gonna be a new defense. So.
How do you think, let's say, what do you think having, so how would you say having, how do you think, what am I trying to say? How do you think family affects football?
How do you mean?
In middle school, how do you think, do you think...
From a player or a coach perspective?
Coach perspective.
How does it play a factor? Slim. Really, it plays a slim factor just because at the end of the day, the coach is one of the best for the team, not per se the individual. As a parent, you're only going to worry about what's good for Johnny.
Yeah.
As a coach, you're trying to worry about what's good for the team. So you hear the parents' comments, you take it, you listen. Don't get me wrong, you're not just not listening to the parents, because sometimes the parents have good suggestions or they see something that you don't see from your point of view. But you listen, you digest it, and you go from there. It's not necessarily you take what they say or not take what they say. You listen, you make your judgment, and you go accordingly.
So one of my questions is, the NFL recently redid the kickoff format. Would you like to see that in our league? And if
First off, I would not like to see that in middle school or high school sports. I feel like that takes kind of the excitement off. And being an ex high school player, sometimes that's your role on Friday. Kickoff, punt, special teams. Sometimes you need to run down like that and hit somebody. That's how you earn a spot. So I believe that should just stay in the NFL, or they should just go back to the original kickoff, because who didn't like seeing Devin Hester in that Super Bowl against the Colts run that kickoff back,
I know you're a quarterback during your football days, but like, what do you think your favorite? Like, what do you think? Like, if you could play any other position, what would you play?
Running back. Running back was the first position I actually played in Little League, and I don't know. I like getting the ball. I like getting the ball. I like scoring. So that'd be the second best position to play, other than receiver. But if I had an option, it'd definitely be quarterback every time.
And then what do you think the most important, or who does the most on the field is?
The most important is the center, because that's the only person who really touches the ball every play.
Yeah. And then, okay, that's all our questions. Do you have any more, Hutton? That's all my questions.
So, a lot of kids nowadays are starting to wear extra protections like turtle on their head.
Right.
Do you think that should be a required thing, like what they're trying to implement?
I wouldn't say it had to be required. Let's go back to this season. This year, we had two guys, two of my better players. They played with Guardians, and they probably hit one of the hardest on the team. So I believe you taking the precaution doesn't make you look soft or anything, that because it's a life outside of sports at the end of the day. So I'd rather you become a better husband than you become a better football player.
Yeah. What rules would you like to see in middle school implanted? Or like, what do you think they should add to middle school football?
What they should add? A few more minutes to the game. I feel like our games go by extremely fast.
Yeah.
So I know you're a basketball player and you're a fan. I just had one question about this year's All-Star game, just the overall season in general.
Right.
Switching gears a little bit.
Have you did you enjoy the All-Star game?
So I enjoyed All-Star weekend. I did not enjoy the All-Star game. So from Friday to Saturday, that was the highlight of it. I feel like it's either you're going to play the full game or just give the players that weekend off so their bodies can reset, because they're going into a crucial part of the season where championships are won. And maybe you have a lingering injury, but the league is trying to push you to participate in this weekend. And it can be detrimental to your team. Yes, you got fans all across the world who love to tune in and watch you play or dunk or whatever you do in the All-Star weekend. But at the end of the day, this is a team sport, and we're trying to put the team first. So I believe they should it's either go back to the old format where they have a full weekend, play the game, go by their business, or let's just give the players an extended week off so they can recover, and we can't have an excuse to complain while they're not playing.
So you've had success this year as a football coach. Would you ever be interested in coaching middle school basketball?
Middle school basketball, what's crazy? I've been offered an opportunity to coach some basketball next year, but on the girls' side, and I kind of want to do that because I got two girls myself, and I don't want to coach them the wrong way. I'm not saying that I would coach these girls the wrong way, but I just want to see how it is and see if I'm up to it,
Yeah.
I have one last question. So over the season, there's been a lot of things happening, and a lot of players have been injured. Who do you think the player in the future will be the best, even with injuries? Because we know bigger players like Victor Wembanyama,
Yeah,
they're gonna be more injury prone than someone like Chris Paul.
that is very true, man. But it's hard to say with that. Who's gonna be the who? So you're basically asking me who I feel like is gonna be the best
player in 2030.
in 2030. Okay. Personally, I want to see Anthony Edwards. I want to see him flourish. I definitely want to see like a guy as a Cade Cunningham. Who else is a young guy? I want to see Jason Tatum flourish. I want to see.
He'll be 30. Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I want to see who else? Let me think. West. I want to see the growth of Memphis, not just Ja Morant, but I want to see the growth of Memphis as a team because they're a young group. OKC's a young group.
Did you see Ja might get traded from the Grizzlies over the offseason?
Say we'll just see in the offseason.
No one is protected.
No one's safe. If Luka Doncic can get traded,
Anybody.
anybody can get traded.
We're gonna switch back to football real quick.
All right. That's a bet. I love it, the back and forth.
So Super Bowl.
All right.
Who do you think in your personal opinion, who do you think played the best?
The Eagles' defensive line.
Eagles defense.
And that's what won them the game. So if you go back to the first matchup, when they played on turf, you can watch how all the Eagles' defensive line was slipping just because they couldn't stick their feet in the grass. This year, New Orleans played on good grass. And you can see how they can drive off their heels. There is no match. They didn't have a match for them. That's what made Patrick Mahomes look startled, in which we normally don't see that just because he's not used to all this pressure in his face. And granted, the Eagles have the number one defense in the league. So, and I'm a big advocate for grass fields. I don't like the turf. I don't like turf.
I like turf when it's like thick turf.
Like our turf, I think our turf is really fine. Our turf is fine, but I like that grass that we played at Westminster.
Yeah.
Like that was a great field.
It didn't look like the grass at like the
Exactly.
other fields.
Yes, it was
that we
soft.
played. It was soft and is actually well maintained. What do you think about Cooper DeJean and how young he is and how
Oh man,
good he's doing?
he's amazing, man. He was amazing. So I'm a guy who's a big advocate for him coming out of the draft. I watched his draft tape, and his skills are undeniable. You know what I'm saying? They like to say the DB is, but I'm glad that Cooper DeJean is flourishing. Not only him, what's the other guy who plays on this team? I forget his name. I'm sorry that I can't think of it off the top of my head, but he also played well this year for the Eagles in their secondary. So
Their secondary was really good this
he's one of many that's on the come up. So don't be on the lookout.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Before we go out, I want to say that you guys, both of you guys, had a really amazing season, and I want to thank you guys for trusting me because this is my first year, and you guys always have set the bar, so we can only be better. I don't want to be any worse than you guys left it. You get what I'm saying? So thank you guys.
Hopefully you got a good coach.
See you next time on New Light Sports.